Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Last one of the year. Last one of the year, man. What was he saying before? The first time we recorded, I feel like we ended off on a good number. Where we at now?
70, bro.
70?
70 of them, bro.
No, it was 70 because I was. I don't know if I told you, I was looking it up like the other week. I'd be like trying to over spiritualize stuff sometimes. I was trying to get deep into it, bro. I ain't really find nothing that like.
So if it was on like an odd number, you would have felt off about it.
No, I'm saying like the number 70. I felt had some special meaning that may have like pertained to us.
What's it mean?
It didn't hit home. I didn't.
Nothing,
I didn't find anything that really.
I feel like it feels right.
Huh?
It's an even number.
I mean, it's a nice number to end off the
70?
year. Going into like 2023 with 71. Or
That's
whatever.
what I'm saying.
Yeah, and we got a full house. The bros here.
The
John
gang.
just looking at me, bro.
Got the gang. You got the gang.
Got the gang in the building, bro. I'm loving it. All right, bro. You ready to tap in?
Let's do it.
All right, yo, what's up? It's your boy D Starks.
Starks Artist.
You are now tuned in to another episode of Just Different Podcast where we talk everything faith, life, and culture. We back
We here.
for another one.
The last one.
Yo! No, that wasn't planned. I swear that wasn't scripted. I promise y'all. We here for another one. Yo, we appreciate y'all's patience, man. We had to like push it back one day. We've been traveling literally from like New York back to Louisville for a day, straight to Orlando, just to come back to Louisville.
Trust, but we've been lining some stuff up.
Yeah, we've been lining some stuff up for 2023.
y'all.
We'll tell you about it in a second, though.
Yeah.
But we mentioned it last week, and I want to give y'all some announcements for what we got going on.
Talk to the people.
For this next year, since it's the last episode of the year. So we got 2 episodes a week coming. New schedule, Wednesday and Friday.
Mark your calendars.
Again, we got a lot of like different guests coming on, a lot of conversations we've had like the past 2 weeks, which have been fire. Like undeniably,
Real
like
talk.
some of the best we've done.
Best ones
I think.
yeah,
Yeah, crazy.
most definitely.
So 2 episodes a week every Wednesday and Friday. So be prepared. Be looking out for that. And then we also been vlogging.
Some slight.
Some
I mean,
crazy-
we're not really vloggers.
We've been trying to
for
hop in
real,
our
but
bag, like, you know what I mean? But
We're gonna try to chop it up. See
yeah,
what
we'll see what happens. But we've been vlogging. We've been traveling or whatever. So we did the vlogs for that when we were like meeting the guests.
Yeah. Some BTS,
Yeah, BTS behind the scenes and all that. So we're probably gonna do a vlog really every week in January, and then we'll see kind of what the frequency looks like throughout the year. But
Yeah.
definitely more vlogs, all of like 2023, getting y'all to see the behind the scenes. I know we did a Holy Smoke vlog. Shout out Jordan Diggs,
Shout
Cootie
out
Diggs,
Cootie
you feel me?
Diggs.
That filmed it for us. A lot of people really like that.
Yep.
So yeah, I enjoyed it, to be honest. So
definitely.
we got that coming too, and then that's what they really been waiting to hear.
Talk, bro.
bro.
What?
You gonna let them know though?
Oh, you let them know, bro.
Talk to them.
Oh, you want me to let them know?
I mean, yo, where's the merch at?
They've been asking.
Yeah.
Where's the merch at?
Yeah.
Jordan, where's the merch at? Where's the merch
Yeah.
at? It's on the way,
They don't
bro.
sound like that, but yeah. Yeah.
It's on the way. So it's coming out January 6th.
January 6th.
January
We finally
6th.
got the date. It's been a long time in the making, bro. I feel like
has.
it's been like 6 months.
It really has, bro. But we just wanted to make sure we had like a good quality. Like
yeah, we wanted the quality to be
design.
right. We wanted the design to like fit like where we were
We
going.
went through a
just
couple
with, like,
different
just different and all
things.
that. And it finally clicked. Like it hit whenever we found it. And
Yeah.
I was like, yes, it's the one. So I'm glad that we waited because the first designs we came up with was just kind of like,
It wasn't bad. It was just very simple.
yeah, it just didn't fit.
It was-
I didn't want to rush it, but we finally got it together for y'all. So I'm really excited. Everybody who said it was going, like, I need y'all to show out. Y'all got to pop out.
Since y'all been asking.
Yeah, make sure y'all cop some merch coming out January 6th. We'll remind y'all, kind of promote it, of course, across all our socials. Then like we'll have an episode that Wednesday before. Right. Probably rocking it, maybe. Well, by the
Probably.
time. Yeah,
Most
So
definitely.
you'll be able to see
I'm
it.
excited. That's all I'm gonna be wearing.
Yeah, definitely. We're gonna be locked in.
I know that's
But-
all you're gonna be wearing. My fault.
That's
My fault,
crazy.
go ahead.
But yeah, man. End of the year. So this episode really gonna do what we did last year. We're just gonna
Little
like go
recap.
through our recap of like our lessons, the biggest lesson that we learned, what God was really teaching us, and kind of what we just want to spill here. But yeah, go ahead. I wanted to ask you, what's been like your favorite memory, favorite part of the year,
My
or
favorite.
best?
My
Yeah.
My favorite memory.
Or just part of the year. Yeah.
Okay, I'll give like a good one. I don't know about favorite. I feel like there's a whole bunch of them. One of my favorite memories is when we went to that FCA camp. It was like towards the top of the year. We was with the whole gang was there. Seth. It was Jordan. Was Jordan there?
No, Jordan wasn't there.
But it was at the top of the year. It was with John, Eric, us, and then Seth, and then Emmy was there too. And then we met John's friend Dalen. That was just a fun time, bro. It was very low key, but like, I remember we went to Waffle House and stuff. It was just a cool memory.
Yeah. So what's your favorite part of the year?
It was one of them.
Oh, I got you. Yeah, I think that would have to be it. Like at the top of the year, honestly, meeting like everybody. Like now people like we always talk about it. We haven't been friends with them for like a year yet. Yeah. So like John, Eric, Jordan, Seth, like really like the whole gang. Meeting them at Passion had to be
set
like,
the tone too.
It set the tone for the whole year.
Real talk.
Definitely.
Real
like
talk.
the summer was up too though.
I forgot about the summer.
There was a lot that happened.
It really was.
But honestly, now I asked that because I'm like honestly I think like the past, even though the past like, I feel like we can have low key been like hectic a little bit. It's been like low key one of the best parts of the year.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like even so. Yeah, like going to. So we were actually just in New York this past weekend. We went there Friday, stayed till about like Sunday, or at least Monday morning. And yeah, but that trip, like, how do you feel about New York?
I give New York a cool like 9 out of 10.
9 out of 10. Yeah.
It wasn't what I expected, but in a good way though. Like I expected worse. You know what I mean?
I did expect worse. I was like going down this rabbit hole, of, like looking at all the YouTube videos. You feel what I'm saying? And I was getting all like the negative kind of like reviews, of, like yeah. But it was smooth though. Like
I didn't see not one rap.
Yeah, I did once.
You saw one?
Yeah, it was small. Like, it wasn't like yeah. But I mean, I'm sure like if we stayed longer, we would have
saw one. But it wasn't all that bad. I give it 9 out of 10.
Yeah, it was a smooth trip. Like definitely experiencing it in person was like way different. Like I guess for me, some of the cons people have about New York are like pros for me.
Like what? Name one of them.
I don't know. Maybe like there's like too many people.
Okay.
Like it's probably too crowded, too clustered, or whatever.
That's
but
fair.
I kind of like being in the know, like being able to kind of like just.
Yeah,
seeing everybody on
I feel like with that too, you can kind of like, not that fly under the radar. I guess like you could do whatever, no one's gonna care. You know what I mean? Because there's just so many people.
That's a fact. Like I usually feel uncomfortable like vlogging in different places. There it was kind of like
no one cared. Like they would walk right past you, not bat an eye. You can stand in the middle of the sidewalk, no one's gonna question it.
Like and definitely like the diversity piece, like because I hear that a lot, but it's different experiencing in person. Like literally the first day you hear like 10 different languages, whole bunch of ethnicities of like different nationalities of people I didn't even know about. Yeah, I definitely like that aspect too. It wasn't just like the basic kind of just like black and white. Really got a melting pot of things like that, and ran across some genuine people. Yeah, I know New Yorkers be kind of on that, but we found there were some nice people. Yeah, but I mean the subway did low key smell like pee, so
it did, bro. But, it was you just gotta take it on the chin.
You gotta take it on the chin. We took the subway a few times, but y'all see that in all the vlog. But that was smooth. Yeah. And then New York, New York was smooth, and then after that. We came back for like maybe a day or two. Yeah. And then we literally went straight to Orlando. Yeah, we tried to record we tried to record Tuesday for this episode, but the camera
was acting up.
Because we knew we weren't gonna be here Wednesday because we're gonna be Yeah, we wanted So we wanted to record Tuesday because Wednesday we actually had our first live event. Yeah.
Shout out Culture Youth.
Shout out Culture Youth, TKC. It's a local church here in Louisville. So yeah, we actually did that Wednesday night. Went to the youth group, kind of just like talked with them. Did like a live podcast, low key. Essentially,
most definitely. Yeah,
it was like our first. And I was thinking about it. That was our first live event that we've done like ever. Yeah,
that's crazy.
I'm saying like it's a lot that's happened like the past week.
That's the first one.
Yeah, first live show that we've done. But we were able to record it, got the video and audio. So I think we're gonna like post that. At some point.
Y'all see it.
So y'all definitely see it. So we did that Wednesday. So yeah, and then like that Wednesday right after church, we took a flight and we were in Orlando to the O, and that was smooth. We got some guests on. I mean, you probably guess who it is, but you feel what I'm saying?
Y'all see it when y'all see it, man.
But that was really, really our like week and kind of ended off 2020.
It was a lot going on, but it was a good end of the year.
100%,
most definitely,
100%. So it was a great time. But yeah, appreciate y'all's patience. We coming back with it. Last episode, bro.
Last episode.
Let's tap in. You want to go first with your lessons?
No, you got it.
You got it. All right.
Yeah.
So, as I was thinking about like some of my biggest lessons for 2022, this was actually something I heard not too long ago that was like super recent, but it said that you can't act higher than you think, and how you think is directly predicated on like what you are allowing yourself to see, hear, and listen to.
Right.
And so for me, I think like earlier on, like in the year when there was like some bad habits I was trying to break or things I was trying to remove out of my life that I know like God didn't want there, I was like trying to modify my behavior without like actually changing my mind.
Okay.
So it was like I was trying to walk in a different direction when my mind was still stuck in the same place. And I was like, for the most part, I guess I just really had to like learn or acknowledge again that like obviously what we talk about all the time, like your life always moves in the direction of your strongest thought.
Most definitely.
So like in order for you to you first have to make a decision in your mind for it to like really like manifest in your life. Yeah. For the most part. And so like it'll be like, okay, you want to break the cycle of falling into lust or getting into like this habit of like going back and forth with like pornography or like sleeping around or whatever. But it's like you got like this spam account that you literally just have so you can watch thirst traps.
It's crazy.
You feel me? You got the archives of all
with
like
the IG model, like
yeah,
on,
like
bro.
you got the archives of all the OnlyFans subscriptions.
Nuts.
You know what I'm saying? Or like, and it's funny, I was just talking to somebody about this the other day. You been watching, you watched 50 Shades of Grey all week last week.
That's different, bro.
But you're but you're attempting to try to like move out of that, right?
Yeah.
So you're trying to move in a direction that your mind's not in yet. And that's important because honestly, obviously, what you meditate on is like what your life is going to become.
Exactly.
And like, of course, we understand intrusive thoughts, but like your mind is always going to output like what you're putting in. And so what you're meditating on and consuming is going to be a big part of that. And it's like, how can you walk in biblical truths like with a carnal mind? So it's just like, okay, you want to, you know what I mean? You want to like walk by the spirit, but you're not meditating on things of the spirit.
Right.
And I think that like that's a component that like, okay, you know sometimes, but you kind of like miss in different moments.
Yeah,
because another part of it was what I put down. I think sometimes we can get wrapped up in this maybe idealized version of like who we want ourselves to be versus who we really are.
I feel that.
And so I think sometimes early in this year, I was stuck on like just because I believed in something, it was like my reality. Right? So okay, I acknowledge it. It's like, okay, like it's okay. I have this idealized version of like the morals I want to stand by, this standard I want my life to basically be like hold up to, the person I want myself to be in God. And so since I like kind of have this idealized like pursuit of okay, this is where I want to be and I desire to be, that was just enough.
Right. Like the bar was enough.
Yeah.
Even if you weren't even trying to reach towards it.
Exactly. So that was just enough. And so I think sometimes it's like, okay, for example, you can be a person who's like, okay, yeah, you want to remain like in a life where you're pure, right? And you're like abstinent, like saving yourself for marriage, but like you're continuing to like have sex outside of that, right? But like in your mind, it's okay, like I know this is something like I shouldn't be doing, like I desire and I hope to, you know what I mean? I know what's right,
exactly,
right? I know what's right from wrong or whatever. So it's just like, okay, like you're kind of like waiting for your action to catch up to your belief, but like acknowledging your belief is different than actually holding it.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Like to acknowledge one and actually to hold a belief. Because if it's something, because there's a difference between just acknowledging something and actually believing in it. Because if you're believing in it, it's something that you're actually making a part of like your daily regimen, right? That a part of like what you're actually working toward and what you want, like, you know what I mean? Your life to look like. And essentially what questions did I put down? It's like, it may be a part of what you want to believe, but is it an integral part of what you meditate on? It may be a value of yours, but is it something you've committed to being your lifestyle? It's like there's just a difference there. So for me, it was like getting caught up in that of like, even when it comes to like communication, right? So it's like, okay, like something I do value, I know is important in relationships is like communicating and being transparent, being vulnerable, like making sure I'm reaching out, initiating conversation. But it's like, yo, like I ain't hit the group chat in 2 weeks.
That's nuts.
You feel me? I got all these texts like, yo, how you doing? Like, you straight? Like, you know what I mean? Checking in on me, and I have not replied in 3 days.
Sometimes you don't text me back.
Yeah. It happened like that. But in my mind, it was like, okay, like, this is something that I value, and I know it's important to me,
right?
In quotations, you feel what I'm saying? And so it kind of let it slide under the rug of like, okay, like, it's okay if I don't answer back. I know, like, you know what I mean? My beliefs are there, but I wasn't actually walking it out. So I think those two parts were, like, one of the biggest lessons of the year, definitely. Okay. I had it like up top,
yeah. I definitely, one of the lessons that I learned this year really goes into that as well. I think it's like sort of that mindset that causes what I'm about to talk about. It's like I feel like you can only be working on something for so long. You know what I mean? Like you have those people who's like, like I've been working on my patience. Like, yo, trust the process. Like God's working on me.
Trust the process.
The process been in the working for like 7 years, bro.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like you can only be working on that for so long. And I feel like a lot of us, we settle for like that middle area of like, I'm working on it, you know? And I don't want to downplay that because I think a lot of people never even get to that point. You feel me? Like that's a huge step, but like it has to be more than that. Like your actions have to be matching up with, you know, what you're trying to do. Like what you're working on has to eventually become something that is resolved, or at least some sort of progress is made, you know? Because I feel like you mentioned with the communication thing, that's big for me. Like I've been saying I've been working on that for like 2 years.
Yeah.
And
that's your favorite line.
No, for real talk. I was self-reflecting, looking back on the year, and I'm like, dang, like I really didn't get much better at that at all. You know? So it's like,
because you come kind of, I guess you stagnant.
Yeah.
In that.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of like maybe your scapegoat or your excuse of like, okay, like I'm working on it.
Exactly.
And something that you can kind of just like put on the back burner and like sweep under the rug of like something, okay, you may get to if you want to.
Right.
And that kind of makes it like, okay, yeah, I'm working on it.
Yeah.
So
but if you're saying you're working on it, it's something you really got to be intentional about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even if you feel like, oh, I'm busy or whatever, whatever excuse you try to use, it's like, you got to be intentional about that. You can only be working on it for so long. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's
a fact.
That was one of my lessons.
That's a fact. And then
I thought it wasn't recording, bro. I was like,
no. And then the second one that I had down, it was in your life, and I kind of mentioned this. I want to say this was in last week's episode, or here recently, and it's basically, in your life, there are going to come, they're going to, no way. Let me find it. Okay, in your life, there are going to be unwanted thoughts and feelings that will come, but they don't have the authority to stay. And just because they are consuming you in a moment doesn't mean it's your reality. And so, this example I used not too long ago, but it was like, you know, when I first really gave my life to Christ and I was walking this thing out for real, right? I found myself really getting freed and breaking through a lot of different habits and cycles of sin that I was in, and particularly when it came to like lust, like pornography and all of that. And so there was a long period of time where it wasn't something I necessarily like was falling into or like was like tempted like heavily in any direction. And there were just like, you know, over the course of time, there came like a point where these thoughts kind of came back to my mind.
Yeah.
Like continuously. And I was just like, yo, like I thought I beat this. I thought I was over this. I thought I had a victory, like power in God. And I got really like anxious and started overthinking, like I guess like my salvation and how close I was to him because of this temptation that I was having.
Yeah.
And I think we mentioned it in cycles, but it's the fact that God has delivered us from the power of sin, but that doesn't mean we still won't feel temptation like from it.
Yeah.
And that's something that I've still had to learn and really, really walk through because, okay, like you may have like that temptation to, whatever, like go back to your old ways in terms of like lashing out rather than communicating and or like, you know, running to like these other things for peace instead of like going to your word and or seeking counsel or accountability or whatnot. And just because like that's there, it doesn't mean that it has like the power to stay.
Exactly.
Right. And so like you have these thoughts that come through your mind of like, okay, you want to go in this direction of okay, yeah, you might want to dabble back in the streets and just like go sleep around and give like and just do whatever. And just because you have that thought doesn't like necessarily like devalue your salvation, right? Because that temptation is going to be there. But through the power that God's given us, of course, right, that we talked about, it was in cycles, wasn't it?
It was.
But in Galatians 5, but they don't have the authority to stay. And so like us like ultimately using like this our spirit, right, and walking that out with God, because it talks about, I don't know if it's in James, it talks about how like every man is tempted by his own desires, right?
Yeah.
Is that in James? Yeah. And I gotta actually find the verse, but can y'all find it for me?
James chapter 1:13.
1:13.
It's either 1:12 or 13.
Okay, that's what I thought. But every man is tempted away by his own desires, and whenever you are tempted, like God always provides a way out.
Yeah.
And so in those moments, it's like, okay, like, yo, I have these thoughts and there's feelings, but like God is always going to provide that way for you to escape that, right, through his spirit. And so I think that's one of the biggest ones for me.
I think with that, I definitely dealt with that a lot this year. I feel like a part of it is like a lot of us sort of identify with our thoughts in certain situations. You know what I mean? And I think for me, it stemmed from, okay, so the verse it talks about, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. You know what I mean? So I think people take that and it's like, okay, if I think this is who I am. You know what I mean? And people like sort of identify with that, which is when it's like, I think that verse, what it's talking about is like a perpetual, like you're sitting on that thought. It's not like if a thought comes, that's who you are. It's like, no, if you are continually thinking about it, then that's who you are. But
it's not if they come, if you give them authority.
If you give them authority to stay, right, and it's sitting there and you're continually thinking on it, then that's who you'll become. But I feel like I said, a lot of people, the thought comes and we like identify with it. And
the second part of that lesson that I said is like, and just because these thoughts are consuming you in a moment doesn't mean that it's your reality.
Yeah.
Because something that I struggled with this year up front is like, okay, I really felt that I was coming into a point of like, I really had like a real work in like my esteem, and my identity of like how I viewed myself, how I viewed how God was using me, and the direction that He wanted to take me in my purpose. And I felt like I was coming to a point of like real confidence and being secure in that. And you know, and it was crazy because it was like, okay, like I've come into this place of like confidence and really kind of like getting comfortable with myself, my voice, finding my sound. But it's like, okay, when I step to the mic, I'm still feeling all these like getting all these thoughts of insecurity.
Right.
I'm feeling as if like, yo, like I'm not worth it. I don't deserve the platform. Shouldn't be behind the mic. My words are just gonna be laid void. My voice doesn't matter. And I was confused because I'm like, yo, like okay, like does this kind of like mean I'm not confident anymore? Does this negate like all these things that I did build in Christ or whatever? And that doesn't like devalue that, because I think that's something that you've mentioned before. Like it doesn't like take away, because sometimes we can think, oh dang, since I got this thought, like it takes away
like
all this
you
progress.
Lost all the progress.
Fact.
Exactly.
Fact. And it wasn't that, because of course like we have a real like adversary that's going to like obviously like have these thoughts come in our mind to pull us away from the purpose and the thing God wants us to do. And so for me, it was just like not realizing that those like thoughts and those moments, like before I was about to do anything, or like even just kind of like throughout my regular day, wasn't like who I was or the totality of my experience. It was just things that I had to cast down and bring to God. And so I think that's definitely why I put that, because it wasn't where I was at. And then you can be confident, right, and maybe have moments
still have that thought.
Right, those thoughts like of insecurity, but it's just about like bringing those back to what we talk about all the time with the fact versus truth.
Fact versus truth.
Right, of the truth of like, okay, who God's made me, the identity that I have, and putting those feelings against that. And you know,
that's a big lesson. I didn't have that written down, but that's definitely something that like I've been learning throughout the year. I think so I was sitting down and like kind of preparing for the EP, thinking back on the year, reflecting like what's some stuff I've learned, things I've gone through. And I felt like for a whole lot, like a long period of the year, I was kind of just existing. You know what I mean? Like, no, because I was looking back, and I was really like using 100% of my brain power trying to figure out like what I learned this year. And it was really hard for me, because I just felt like I was kind of just going through the motions for a lot of it. And that led me to like this lesson of how like being intentional, this lesson of like being present is something that's very intentional. I think for me, I felt like going places and doing things that like being present was implied. That like if I'm going, then I'm present. When that's not the case, like we've all had situations where we've like been in class and we've just like our mind was elsewhere. Like we weren't really there. You weren't really present. You know what I mean? So I felt like that was something that I failed to do this year, and that's why it's a lesson, like something I want to do better for next year. And I don't know, I feel like something that I want to implement to prevent it from happening again is like at the end of each month is like sit down and kind of like write out, I guess, lessons, honestly, whatever I want to write down for the month, like lessons, experiences I had, good memories, whatever, each month. So like at the end of the year, I can look back on it and be like, okay, this month, like this is what I learned, this is what happened, et cetera, et cetera. Because I felt like this year, a lot of it kind of was like in one ear, out the other type of thing. You know what I mean? So yeah, being intentional I keep messing it up. Being present is a very intentional thing.
Yeah, I remember I heard Matthew Stevenson, he was on this podcast doing an interview, and he was talking about the difference between like sleep and rest. And he was basically saying that sleep is the action of the body and rest is the action of the mind. And so that's why sometimes like people can like obviously get 8-10 hours of sleep and still wake up exhausted, because their mind didn't shut off.
Yeah.
Like they were still going through like whatever that was weighing on their mind was still something that was like subconsciously kind of like replaying throughout the night. And I feel like that was something that I struggled with like early in this year. It's just like learning to kind of turn my mind off like all these thoughts or anxieties or stresses that I had, particularly like whenever we would go on trips or anywhere, right?
Yeah.
Like actually being able to enjoy it, because it's like, okay, like I'm here, I'm present, I'm going out, we're eating, having all the experiences, but it's like, yo, I'm thinking about, okay, like, yo, when's the next episode?
Yeah.
Like, you know,
your mind is always thinking about the next thing.
In fact, okay, like what's the next move? Like what's the next business play thing? There's these emails I gotta get to. Okay, like I gotta like respond to this person like X, Y, and Z. And not realizing that it's a very intentional effort to kind of like put those things aside and just like be very focused on like where you're at.
Exactly. Yeah. I definitely know people who are very like goal oriented definitely struggle with that the most. Yeah, like thinking about what's next, what can I do better, instead of just like enjoying like where they're at. So yeah, I feel that.
And then for me, another big one that I put down that like honestly, like the past two conversations that we've had of people that we've been able to have on a podcast has helped me out so much. But it's the fact that who God's made you is better.
Okay.
And we were in Nashville
Expound
actually.
upon that.
No, we were in Nashville actually, and we were doing a Bible study with our guy John and his mom. Shout out Erica Diggs. And we were doing a Bible study, and after that, she was just kind of like praying and like prophesying over us. And that was one of the things that she had told me that she like just had felt like led to like speak over me. And at first, I was kind of like really trying to figure out like what that meant like for me, like where in my life was I kind of like compromising and trying to like move away from like what God wanted me to do and what he wanted it to look like. And I felt like earlier in the year I don't know, I think I got so caught up in feeling like I was in the box.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's particularly like, I guess like with the podcast. And I felt like, okay, like I was getting away from like the message that he wanted me to like preach.
Yeah.
Right? Thinking that, okay, like, yeah, I want to reach the masses. I'm trying to get to the culture. Like, yeah, like this is cool, but I'm trying to do things for the kingdom.
Right.
Like put like the faith at the forefront of the culture or whatever. And I was subconsciously kind of like changing like my voice, my sound, and even my message to a degree of trying to like, you know what I mean, reach people that maybe God didn't call me to.
Right.
And trying to do something like God, like going in a direction God never even told me to like walk in. And that kind of hit home because in that moment when she told me that, I really like realized that like, yo, like I was trying to move away from the version God wanted me to be.
Exactly.
Thinking that what I had was better. And so that caused like just a lot of tension, a lot of weight. And I was like, yo, like why am I so satisfied? I was getting burnt out more. I wasn't even enjoying where I was at. And
I think what's tricky about it is like the intentions are pure, you know what I'm saying? But we've talked about before, like intentions aren't always everything.
Fact.
Right? Your heart's in the right place. Like I want to be doing this for the kingdom, but it's like you're sort of still straying away from the original like design and like what God wanted you to do. So.
Right. And so I think that really getting back to like the basis of, okay, like God, like what do you want this to be?
Most definitely.
Right. Because like, you know what I mean? You can have your own thoughts on what that looks like. And that's what I'm saying. Like all good things aren't God things.
Yep.
And that's something else that you also have to learn to decipher through. Like, okay, like this is the direction I can do. That's not necessarily sinful and like sounds great, but like, yo, is this what God wants me to do? And so kind of going through that process of getting kind of off kilter of like what I know I needed to do, what I was called to, made me like trying almost in a mindset of like, okay, maybe who God made me isn't
exactly
the best or whatever, like the best way for me when it always is. And so I think that's one of the big things I've had to.
You know, I had that same moment this year where I kind of had to, I guess like realign, you know, because I kind of got off track. And I feel like something that God was telling me is sort of like in a way I was kind of like mismanaging like what he had. And that led me to honestly like my next lesson, something that I learned is just I feel like we should really seek to want to be trusted by God. I think at some point in my walk, I feel like I valued like being loved by God more. But I feel like his trust is just a different depth of like his love that I feel like not everyone necessarily has, right? Because God so loved the world he gave. So like he loves all of us. Like that's something that we don't necessarily have to work for. That's like inherent like in us being his children is that he loves us. But like we should want to dig deeper than that. You know what I'm saying? And not just settle for like God loves me, but I want to be trusted by God because God can't trust all of us. You know, it's like I think there's a different type of a discipline, a different type of
devotion,
seek that like goes into like us being trusted by him. You know what I mean? So that's something I've learned is like when in that mismanagement was like, okay, wait, am I trusted by God? Like, does God trust me with his word? Does God trust me with this platform? You know what I mean? So it's like I had to realign and get back to the trust and not necessarily just settle for the fact that God loves me. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that was one of my lessons.
That's fair.
Yeah.
So you don't feel like you were trustworthy?
I was getting to a point where I wasn't. Most definitely.
What does that look like?
Like you were talking about, sort of going off going off in my own direction, like doing things how I wanted to, like what looked right to me instead of really seeking God. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense. And then one of the dang, I don't want to give this away too much because we talked about this in one of the conversations we had, but someone was asking us essentially. I said it crazy. I said this. I feel like I said this a few times, but someone was asking us, okay, like, yo, like, I mean, it's been 70 episodes, like 70 weeks,
70
straight, and like, yo, how have you been able to stay like so consistent with what you're doing and the platform? Because a lot of people like, what I mean, essentially, kind of like fall off and maybe not like always stick it through or like see it through to the end and what it, what I mean, could be. And what I said was one of the biggest things that I've had to learn is the fact that even when it comes to JD and a platform, that it's like it's not mine. Like it's not mine. It's like, whenever you're given something, it's a gift. Like whenever you're given something, you handle it with a different type of delicacy, with a different type of care, right? So if Eric gives me the keys to his car, I'm gonna drive it a little different.
Facts.
I'm gonna make sure I'm probably 10 and 2. I'm gonna make sure I'm probably going the speed limit.
Yeah.
Do you feel what I'm saying? Because he's a person that's entrusted me with something that's very valuable to him. And so in that same way, I've had to come to realize like, yo, like anything that I've been given, anything that I have right now is all because of God.
Yeah.
And this is his platform. And so like I have a responsibility to manage what he's given me well. And so it's not about like, yo, why? At least so it's like, okay, why have you stayed consistent? It's because like, yo, it's not mine.
It's not mine.
You know what I mean? Because if I was doing it for the audience, if I was even doing it for me at some point, I would have quit by now.
I would have been done.
Right.
Episode 45.
To get up every week and speak when I'd rather probably just chill.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, yo, get up, make sure I'm reading my Bible, studying one like for myself and relationship with God, and then okay, getting prepped together for like what we need to talk about. I'd rather watch the game.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's the weekend. I know I make sure I need to stay in, like, what I mean, make sure I'm rested for what's coming up. But I'd rather probably go out.
I'd rather go to the function.
Right. But, you know what I mean, with the diligence and like love, one, that I have for God and what he's given, that's like something that I just look at so differently and handle with a different type of like care and delicacy, right? And one thing I put down is the fact that I was called to manage, not control.
That's fair.
And so I think sometimes I got in this, maybe my ego and pride got in the way of like, yo, trying to like control everything and like my hand being on it all, and like taking a step back and realize, yo, like my call is just to manage everything well. None of it's mine. I own nothing.
Yep.
Right. And then even like in Genesis, obviously the first call of us is to be managers anyway. And I even brought that back to my mind of like, yo, that was the original intention of this all.
It's to manage.
Right? Yeah.
So we created.
And so as soon as we kind of like start stepping out of that and thinking that we have more power or like authority than what we do in different spaces and what God's given us, is when we kind of start to actually like fumble everything. Yeah. And get our hands all over what he's trying to like, do.
That was a bar. We're called to manage. What was it? What did you say?
I just said I was called to manage, not control.
Called to manage, not control. No, I like that. I feel like a lot of our goals are like kind of like similar in a way.
Talking about lessons.
I meant I didn't get it that bad.
Bro, sleep.
I meant lessons, but because for me, I had to learn in managing, like going off of your point, managing what God had given to me and the gifts that he had given me. I had to learn that sometimes a part of managing those things well is putting some of them down. I think that a lot of people struggle with this when they have their hands in a lot of different things and they're maybe gifted in a lot of different areas, is they feel like they can't waste any of it. So it's like they have to be doing it all at one time. It's like I can't waste any of this, but I feel like for me, God was telling me I just needed to focus on one thing. You know what I mean? And I feel like, because it's like when you're focusing on several things, you'll never have 100% of focus on one. That's just impossible. Like we don't have the capacity to be able to do that. But sometimes you just have to be able to put some stuff aside to 100% focus on this one thing. And that doesn't mean that thing that you put down is going to die, right? I just think there's certain seasons that God may call you to go back to that thing or whatever the case may be. And something that I heard on Tim Ross's podcast was David never.
Bro, loves
Okay,
Tim
bro.
Ross.
I knew you was gonna say something, bro.
He's a fiend, yo.
We couldn't just let it slide,
I haven't
bro.
noticed yet. Every
We couldn't
episode.
just let it slide, bro. He be
That's what I
dropping
heard from Tim
He be
Ross.
dropping bars, bro. And I can't be acting like I said it. You know what I'm saying?
Word. Do your thing.
He said David never lost any of his tools. He just had to know when to use them. So, you know, he had his staff, he had a slingshot, he had his crown, he had his sword. And in different seasons of his life, he had to learn when to manage each of them well, right? And when to put down the other to pick up another one. You know what I mean? There was even an instance where he had to use his sword once again after he had put it down. And like, I believe it's in 2 Samuel. But yeah, so I had to learn that for myself. Like, yeah, and I think for me, a part of it was out of like a fear of dying with like what ifs or like lost potential that was causing me to be very like reluctant to put certain things down, because I was like, I can't waste this. I don't want to waste it, when God was literally telling me to put it down. You know what I mean? So that was one of my lessons, learning when to put certain things down. And
so what do you put? What is that? What's that look like?
I felt like
what do you have to focus on?
I felt like I needed to focus on the podcast.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was trying to do the music, and I was like, okay, we're gonna go. I was like, we're really about to pick it up with the music. I'm like, yeah, we're about to go all in. And like in doing that, I just felt like it just wasn't working. Like all of my attention was there, and then it was like figuring out that balance. It was just a lot, and then I felt like I just needed to focus on one thing for now. You know what I mean? And then there would be another season for me to pick the music back up. So that
Fair.
was
Makes sense.
That was one of my lessons. And I guess this also goes along with the managing thing, because I felt like this whole year I was trying to figure out like balancing everything that I was doing, work, podcast, music. I was just trying to balance a lot, right? My relationship with God, social life. And I would often beat myself up because I felt like I'd never found the balance. It was like I would find it and then I would lose it again, and it was very frustrating. But something that I learned in like sitting down and reflecting was I feel like balance is fleeting. I don't think it's ever meant to be something that you always have right 100% of the time, because I was thinking about
Balance, man.
the balance,
What was it called?
Yeah, the justice scales, or with the balance or whatever. And so I looked at it like this: if you have your balance perfect, right, and everything is balanced perfectly on the scales, if you take something out or add something, immediately the balance is going to be lost. And I feel like that is the nature of our lives. Like each season that you walk into or walk out of, you're either adding things or taking things away. So if that's the case, then you're constantly going to be in a state of like losing the balance once you found it, And I feel like it's something that once you add these new things on or take them away, you got to find the balance once again. So yeah, balance is fleeting. I felt like I had to be in a constant state of it. So whenever I lost it, I was like, am I doing something wrong? And I was beating myself up over it. And I was like, oh, I'm doing something wrong. When in all reality, I think that's just a part of it.
I think it also goes back to what you're saying about I think there's just certain things that take priority in different seasons.
Yeah.
Because I'm at the point where I don't know if I believe in balance anymore.
Okay.
I don't know if there's such thing.
All right.
But at some point, there's going to be a season where, okay, like I need to be more of like a son, like, or I need to be more of a brother, like to my sister,
right,
or to you, or I need to be more of a friend to like people in my inner circle, or I need to be more of like, okay, the businessman, where that looks like in the season of I'm focusing in like on the podcast in the back end of what that looks like, or, I need to be better like in this particular area or whatever,
right.
Like, you know what I mean? All these roles I play in times of my life, there's going to be times where those take priority, and other ones inherently not necessarily get left, just put aside and completely neglected, but maybe not as much like focus just because there's that one thing that I have, right?
Right.
Like you said, it goes back to the whole like I said balance being like the weight balance,
yeah,
right? Of like in every season, you have to find what that looks like, and where to adequately put your time.
I agree. Yeah, I would word it like that. I agree.
Yeah. So that makes sense to me. But man, is that it? Is that your last one?
70 of them things, man.
That's your last one?
Yeah.
All right. I got it off my chest.
Yeah. That's the lessons of the year.
Man, 70 of them things. 2022. It's been a year.
It has.
It's been a year, bro. How you feel about how do you feel about it overall?
Overall,
yeah,
it was a great year. It's honestly one of the best years I've had in my entire life.
I'm excited, bro. How you feel about 2023? What's next?
2023 is probably gonna be top 2.
Top 2?
Yeah.
So number 1?
2. Nah,
Low-key?
2023 is gonna be top 5. It's gonna be top 5.
All right.
I feel like there's gonna be better, but it's gonna be real good.
No, it's gonna be one of those. But yeah, man, we appreciate y'all
Real
for
talk.
tuning in like all year. Again, like I really did have a day whenever like the Spotify rap came up.
Yeah.
That one day, and just seeing like all the love and support that we've had like this past year. Like it's our first full year just doing the podcast, being in it. We've learned a lot, and just knowing that like we really built, like I said last time, like this is a tribe and a community of people that are really rocking with us, supporting.
Yeah.
Like all the DMs, messages of just like love, support, uplifting us, prayers, just encouragement across the board. Y'all have no idea, it really keeps us going.
Mm-hmm.
Real talk, and it means the world. So, yeah, we going into 2023 strong. About to take these 2 weeks off, sabbatical to rest. I'm excited for what's next, bro.
Yeah,
it's gonna
about to get right.
It's gonna be up, bro. So you got anything else to lead the people up with for the year?
For the year,
Yeah, it's the last one. It's the last one of the year, bro. And you get some gem, bro. Negative wisdom.
Damn,
yes.
I feel like that's a lot of pressure you putting on me to.
I'm just saying, bro. It's the last one, bro. 70 of them things. Episode 70.
Okay, I guess okay.
Let them know.
For the last episode of the year, I'd say something that we're in the process of doing now is in preparation for your next year. Make sure you're getting some goals down. You're reflecting, writing down your lessons, writing down your goals, as well as resting for the new year. That's real practical, simple, but like that's something I feel like a lot of people fail to do. Writing goals, and their lessons. So yeah,
I think that's all you got.
that's all I got. I feel like that's the most practical thing. That's what we're doing. I'm telling them to do what we're doing.
I feel you. Dang, what would I say? I think you hit it on the nose, bro.
Like that's a good advice to give.
Honestly, like just prepare, but more importantly, like rest.
Yeah, that one's big.
To be honest, because I think that's something that we have like neglected in some ways and haven't like necessarily put as much as like priority, right? But necessarily just allowing yourself to be on every level, like mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, and like in a position to receive everything God wants you to have, right? Because like, of course, like what I talked about earlier, even with your mind, like if your mind is just so discombobulated and like cluttered with all these different things that aren't of God, you want to have room to have focus on the thing that He wants you to actually walk into. And so taking that time to rest, clear those thoughts, and everything else you have in your life of like letting these things go, of like weights that you have, so you can pick up everything that you need for the next year.
Exactly.
That's the one.
That's the one.
I got it, man. So look,
Big
we'll
70.
see y'all in January. 2 episodes a week, Wednesday and Friday. Merch coming January 6th. Vlogs all month.
Yep.
It's up. We're not playing next year at all, man. So we excited, man. We appreciate y'all. And as always, stay you.
Stay real.
And stay humble. We'll catch y'all next week. Much love.
You're supposed to say catch y'all next year. You sold.
Oh, my bad, y'all. I'm catch y'all next year, bro. Not next week. I'm tripping.
For the whole 2023? It's a plan.